Well, today is going to be a little fun, a little silly. We're going to play with Gold Mega Wagon today. And she's my 2010 8-foot box 2500 or single-wheeled 1-ton or whatever you want to call her Dodge truck that I've had for ever, and wasn't the original owner, but I was the second owner and only had like 3,000 or 4,000 miles on it when I bought it. And it has gone through many transformations. She was black and gold with like black top, gold rockers and leather interior and all the goodies. She's crazy dirty, drive it a lot, use it a lot, Laramie package. Back seats folded down because of hauling stuff in the back not too long ago. It has gone through more transformations than most other vehicles I've had as far as colors and looks. Like I said, it was black and gold. At one point it was white with blue flames on the front, and then faded into silver and was white and blue with this like silver stripe going through it. Had that for a couple years. Then I painted the entire thing flat black, and the entire deal was flat black. And then I had graphics put down the side that said Mega Wagon. That was a cool looking truck. I should probably add that right here. The Mega Wagon look of the truck was a really neat truck. But today, I just decided to make something. Well, the fuel gauge quit working in this truck a while ago, because this has an aftermarket fuel pump in it for the bigger fuel injectors and the turbo and things that are on it. So the aftermarket fuel pump, because it hangs down underneath, the way it feeds into the fuel tank, you take the factory fuel pump out and you put it all back in, but the factory sending unit kind of stays in there. The rough roads and gravel roads and driving, the fuel sending unit actually popped sideways in the tank and wasn't reading correctly. So last weekend, I pulled the box off, fixed the fuel tank, and fixed the sending unit, so her fuel gauge now works again. So that's really cool, because it's a lot easier to take the box off than drop a full tank. So that's why we have the box off, and we just put it right back on. But while the box was off, I was thinking about something, and we're pushing fall. Weather's still nice, but it's starting to get chilly. This aftermarket fuel tank or fuel pump that hangs down right up under here, right there. I have it tucked up as tight as we can. You don't see it hanging under the truck. I hate when you see trucks driving by and they've got those mounted. You can actually see the filters hanging underneath. In fact, I drive a lot of gravel roads and I haul a lot with this truck. Matter of fact, if I had to get rid of everything I had and set to just one vehicle, yeah, it'd be this one. Daily drive it. I drive it. I mean, it's amazing in the snow. It's amazing pulling trailers. It's comfortable on huge road trips by myself or with lots of people. But when it's crazy cold and we do get negative 20 and sometimes even negative 40 here, the fuel, you put your diesel antifreeze in. When the pump was in the tank, I never, ever gelled. Ever. Never got a diesel cold enough to gel. Once I ran it outside, those filters are actually water filters. So they pull water out and humidity out, so the filters can actually have a little bit more moisture in them, which makes it even more sensitive to cooling than with those filters hanging down underneath and you're cruising on the road. The wind speed chills those filters. That pump actually has a port to put heater hose on it, and you can run heater hose all the way up to your heater core and back to the truck and back to the pump to heat the fuel pump in wintertime to keep your diesel warm. Thing is, diesels don't get that warm. That takes heat away from the cab. These trucks don't make a lot of heat to begin with when it's 20 below, so it's not like you have raging heat inside there and extra heat to go there. Two, that's like 12 feet from there to there. So that's like 24 feet from there, and up to the heater core and back down and back over there. if I catch a rock or a stump or a stick or that heater line breaks and I blow all my antifreeze out from my engine, that kind of strands the engine. So I am not going to take engine antifreeze and pump it to the fuel pump. But I have an idea. I went gathering some parts. I have a lot of copper. I have some fittings. I was looking about trying to wrap copper around like a fuel filter or something, but that's not where I want to go. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of these fittings, take something like this. I've got a little valve here. See if I can do some of this with one hand, just to show a layout here. I'm going to put like this. Put something like this here. Take something like this. Put it on there. And I'm going to make a pressure vessel. So I'm going to make something like this with an inlet and an outlet like this. Take one of those, put it here. I'm going to mount this after it's all glued, screwed, and tattooed up under the frame of the box at a highest point. Basically, this will be right above the drive line. And then I'll have the same thing going over here, so you have an inlet and an outlet. And then I'm going to take some heater hose and connect heater hose from here to the fuel pump, or to the fuel pump. From here, I'm going to run to some copper, and I'm going to take that copper and I'm going to coil it around the exhaust and clamp it to the exhaust pipe, and then bring it back to here and then back to the fuel pump, so that as the copper gets hot, expansion of the antifreeze that I'll put in it will swell, move through the system, and will heat my fuel pump. So I am going to basically make a water heater for my fuel pump for my Mega Wagon. So when we are sub-zero and super cold, I can keep the fuel warm, which, back to if you don't want warm fuel in the summer, I got this. This will actually go here, and I will be able to shut off the system in the, I will shut that off, and then in the summertime, it won't have any circulation going on, but in the wintertime, you just open that, and yeah, you have to crawl up underneath and do that, and it might not work at all. This might be absolutely a waste of time and completely stupid, but I think it'll be, are you dead? Did you die? You're not dead? Okay, good. You're not dead, are you? No. No. But, geez, big enough I can lay underneath and probably do this all on a creeper, but, you know, there's this lift thing here, so I think I'm going to fire up, do a quick donut out in the field because, you know, I can. I'll pull it back in, we'll put it on the lift, and I will put some of this together and I'll show the process. I've had people ask me, why do you have a 15,000 pound winch when a 9,000 pound two-post will do almost everything you need? Can a 9,000 pound two-post do that? The answer to that is no, it can't. So if I want to pull on one of my work trucks or my service trucks or do something, that is really impressive. And to be honest, this is for a house garage, little home shop, little hobby shop, I can do that. To me, that still makes me giggle. It's so awesome. All right, I am definitely going to throw the Jackie stand supports on it and get up underneath. There we are. So when this truck was stretched and we stretched the frame, which is part of this right through here, This cross tube was a piece of square tubing I just had laying around and I made for a rear tank mount to hold the tank in. I've got I've welded a bracket on here, put some nuts up into the frame. It's just sitting here loose. That'll sit there. I've got the ball valve facing down right above our exhaust. So then I'll coil the exhaust and go this way and then shoot it across to the other side. So that's that. That's that mounted there. You know, obviously not tight and I don't have the top hole in yet. So I'm going to get some fittings on. Then I am putting two valves there and there. One to fill, the other to let air out. And then the other thing is after this is purged and I get all the air out of it and it's running, I'll take the air compressor to one and I'll just charge it with a little bit of air, close it off, and this as a little pressure vessel will keep pressure in the system, so as the pipes get hot, that will cause the water to just naturally travel, hopefully. And this being the highest point, that should get all the air out just like a little mini boiler system. Whoa! Now there is the contraption. We'll take a little brake clean, carb clean, and clean it off. And then we'll take this guy out to the, fire up the paint booth out here, and throw a high quality base coat, clear coat, professional epoxy coating on it, aka rattle can, and bolt her in the frame. All right, a little uppy date. Had to take the fuel pump completely down to get this little barb fitting right there and attach our hose. We have our hose coming down over here. So that'll be our inlet. This will be our outlet on the other side. So there's where our fuel pump is sitting. And so the heater lines are going to run over here. I've got this heater line going there. And so we're going to start the copper about here. And actually I might even do it, you know, a little bit past this joint. I haven't decided if I want to keep this joint or just do it from here. Actually, I think I want to keep it so I don't affect this joint. I'm going to start on this side of it and go from here to here. And the big benefit here, like if this gets ripped off or if I catch something and destroy it, who cares? The antifreeze will leak out and the fuel pump will still work. My motor will still work. I'm not pulling water off of the motor and sacrificing the engine for just a little bit of heat to the engine, to the fuel for this extreme winters or in the, well, any winter when we are below zero like we are typically for a strong month around here. All right, let's get some copper. I'm going to start twisting copper around and see if I can wrap this with some copper. So this is my copper coil on my exhaust. It's quite hilarious. I just find it so fucking fun. Anyways, so there's that. Now, the end of my heater hose is 3/8, and it does just barely fit on there, and it slides on pretty tight. So with the hose clamp, I would get a nice tight seal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flaring tool. I'm going to put a nice flare on the end of it, just so that as I put the hose clamp on, there's a little bit more there to bite so that it doesn't come off. And then I decided to stop it where I happen to have a factory old exhaust hanger that has not been working. And I can tie, you know, zip tie or whatever I need to this, to that pipe, give me things to clamp to up there. And it just gives me a nice end point for it to clamp to. I kind of wish I would have coiled it the other way around and had my off over here. And that way my other one would have been over here, closer to the fuel pump. But I'm not uncoiling this whole thing and redoing it. My arms are actually tired from doing that. So I'll just have the rubber hose will just come across to that. And there, the other reason for the rubber hose connections from here to there and not like running the copper right to my little tank is flex and movement and vibration. Now, we also have this happening, and driving down the road, having vibrations. I have a idea for a solution. I'm going to put some high heat silicones in a couple spots first, and I also clean this with some brake cleaner. I actually clean the pipe. And then after that, I'm going to wrap this coil with aluminum tape to give it a tape barrier, so there's some barrier between this and that. And then I think I'm going to go look over there for some sheet metal, and I'm going to wrap this with sheet metal and then put a large hose clamp around the whole thing to protect it from road grime and whatever else. Plus that would hold the heat into it a little bit better. And I think will work even better. So I'm going to work on those two things right now. I'll get the hose clamped here. I'm going to get this wrapped with insulation and get it wrapped up before I put the tank and the pump up here, because, or not the pump, but just my pressure vessel. It's still sitting out in the paint booth drying, so it should be ready to hang up right now. So that is the further along I get, it makes me laugh how silly my brain worked to think about this. This is so dumb, but is it dumb if it works? We'll see. Give me a couple months when it's crazy cold. Okay, so how we are. We've got our rubber hose coming from, let's go up this way. We have the rubber hose coming from the fuel pump, going through our coil. Long Z coil comes out of Z coil. I made a little reverse bend, goes up into a ball valve, which is accessible on the backside. So summertime, don't heat the fuel. Wintertime, heats the fuel into our pressure vessel and filling ports so we can fill it and close them off. And then there'll be caps on top of that. Out of pressure vessel, back to fuel pump. And roundy round the hot water goes. This is so stupid. All right, so we've wrapped her with aluminum tape. 2 wraps of the plain raw aluminum tape, and then 1 with that little rubber backing stuff, so it adds a little bit of an insulation and it no longer wiggles and jiggles. So driving down the road, we're not going to hear tinging and making noise. Then I want to wrap it with a shield. So I just took some sheet metal. If I was over at the sheet metal shop, I would put it in the roller and roll it. But instead I have my little brake over there. So I just take and make a bunch of tiny little bends and kind of octagon-y circle it. I will pull it around it as tight as I can and get some hose clamps, and I'll hose clamp it. If I don't have big enough hose clamps for today, I might just throw a little tie wire it for something temporary. And other than that, fill the system. So let's see how it looks if I wrap it. There's our heat shield wrapped. I don't have hose clamps quite big enough to go all the way around, but a little trick if a lot of people don't know, you can take hose clamps of the same size and screw them together. And that way I made one long enough. So I've got basically 4 hose clamps that I can make this work. I'll see if I've got another one for doing this back, but get something on there. 1 metal wrapped, rock chip protected, rubber insulated inside, copper coil, wrapped exhaust, heat pump, diesel fuel heater. There you go, Maggie Wagon. There is your diesel fuel heater. We're going to dump a little antifreeze in it, bubble it and bubble it and bubble it, fill that system, and idle it and run, see what kind of temperature we get. I will, green truck. And that is that. I think today is going to be a little bit of a fuel pump and fuel day, because here in a little bit I'm going to pull the actual Rammy charger in. Its fuel sending unit took a poop on it last summer, so I haven't had a good fuel gauge on that, and I have a new sending unit, and I've been driving it all week to work, so the fuel tank should be pretty low. And we're going to See if I can get the fuel gauge working in that also. So we know how much fuel is in things. I'll get this thing filled up. Maybe I'll idle it for a little bit, see if I see circulation. All right, it's a little challenging. I had to take the funnel, took an old chunk of garden hose, connected to the fitting, put the funnel up on top of the box for a high point, and filled the system. It took a little while for it to siphon through the coil. Plus you won't want any air in it because like a boiler in a house, if you have an air bubble in there, the water won't flow. So I had to come over here, take the fitting off of this. I actually took my brake bleeding tool, which I currently broke. So Harbor Freight, here I come for another one. Took that off so I could pump and cycle through till I had flow out of both sides, and then hooked it up, pressurized it up there, filled it up there with just gravity pressure and had good flow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my air hose and I'm going to connect the air hose to the other end of that garden hose, charge it with a little air, open that valve for just a second or two and then close it. That will put positive pressure in that vessel and it's done. And then I'll clean up my mess of antifreeze and stuff I've spilt everywhere and lower it down. And that is my diesel fuel, my diesel fuel heating vessel thing. So let me know if you like it. I think it's funny. If it works, it works. You know, if it's 20 below and I'm running down the highway and I'm gaining temperature in my fuel tank, that's all a good thing. Hopefully it doesn't get it too hot or crazy hot, but I just don't think that exhaust temperature is going to get that hot, mostly that far back on the pipe and running through it. Time will tell. I'm going to clean up. I'm going to pull the ram charger in. We'll stick the ram charger over here and we'll drop its fuel tank, change its fuel sending unit. And that was my Saturday. Beauty little mega wagon. I'm going to see if I can find any photos of that beast in my phone and I'll add them to this video just because, well, that is an awesome truck. Thanks all.